What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Alain Gonzalez here, and today I want to talk about nutrition for skinny guys. All right. So a lot of the time, what happens is you'll go on YouTube or you'll go into Google and you'll look up, how many calories should I be consuming to gain weight or something to that effect. Then you'll watch 2 or 3 different videos or read 2 or 3 different articles, and they all kind of tell you a different thing, right? One might tell you, look, you should multiply your body weight by this much. One will tell you that you should drink a gallon of milk every day, and one should tell you that you should just eat everything in sight, and so on and so on. All right? The truth of the matter is that we have a very good idea, right, of what it takes to gain weight, right? So number one, you have to be eating in a caloric surplus, right? We have to be consuming more energy than we are expending, okay? When we can do that, we'll gain weight. Obviously, the problem becomes if you're a naturally skinny guy, a lot of the times, you're gonna have to eat more than most people, right? Which is a gift and a curse, all right? The next thing that we know for sure is that you have to consume enough protein. If you're not getting enough protein, then what's going to happen, even if you are in a caloric surplus, is that you're not going to have the building blocks available to actually build the muscle tissue, right? So, when we talk about fats and we talk about carbs, there are calculations that we can give you for a basis, right? Something that you can kind of just start on. But ultimately, those two things need to happen. You have to be eating enough calories and you have to get enough protein, okay? So here's the deal. In this video, I want to give you 3 different ways that you can approach your nutrition that will all put size on you. And the reason I want to do this is because what I'm seeing is that not everything works for everybody, right? So I can give you 3 different approaches and they will all work if you implement them. The problem is that not all of these will resonate with everybody, right? One of these though will spark something in your head and say, hey, I can do that. And then that's what you'll do and that's how you'll gain weight, all right? So one person I might say, hey, for you, it's probably better that you get a structured meal plan and gain weight that way. And for this person, I might say you want to be a little bit more flexible, so you should track your macros. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to jump into 3 ways that you can calculate your nutrition, and then just pick one. Whichever one you feel just resonates with you, that is going to be something that you can implement and take action on, follow that one. It doesn't matter which one you pick, right? One is not better than the other. There's pros and cons to each of them. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right in. The first one is tracking macros. Okay, this one is a little bit more calculated, right? You're going to have to weigh and measure, plug into MyFitnessPal or whatever app you use to make sure that you're getting the perfect amount of carbs, fats, and proteins, fiber even. And this is great because, again, it is calculated. So if you figure out your macros, and let's just say you're having 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein, let's say 0.5 grams per pound of body weight in fats, and then maybe 2 times body weight in carbs. All right, now you have your macronutrient breakdown. Now you can aim for those calories, you can track your weight daily, and then at the end of the week, you'll have an average that you can kind of gauge to see whether you're gaining weight or maintaining. And then all you have to do is adjust those macros, keep following them, tracking your weight, and then continue to do this over and over and over. And as long as you can adjust, track, you're always going to be able to adjust your nutrition in a way that will allow you to gain weight, all right, and put you in that surplus that you need to be in. However, that can get a bit tedious, right? For one, once you first figure out your macros, you're going to have to take a couple of weeks to kind of figure out where your maintenance is at, or if those macros are in fact putting you in a surplus, right? So you're going to have to spend that time where you're just eating that set amount of macros every day, You're tracking your weight every single morning. At the end of the week, you get that average. Then the following week, you match your averages and see where your maintenance is at. So there's going to be a little bit of a time where you're kind of just trying to figure out your maintenance. Top of that, you're weighing everything that you're consuming and you're putting it into this app. And then another thing is that when you take this approach, typically what's going to happen is you are going to be able to kind of dictate how much weight you want to gain each week, and you may play it safe. For a naturally skinny guy, you might aim for about half a pound to a pound a week. And for some guys, that's just not going to be enough to keep them motivated and doing it, because let's be frank, when you've been 120 pounds your whole life and now you're 121 after 2 weeks of hard work, well, that kind of sucks. All right. Now, for some of you, that might be fine, because you might say, okay, well, this is awesome. I'm gaining weight. I know it's probably mostly lean muscle. And so it really just depends on how you look at it, right? Again, when it comes to tracking macros, there's pros and cons. I think you can kind of use your own judgment to determine what those pros and cons are, because they might be different for everybody. The next thing is an approach that I kind of prefer for naturally skinny guys. That's just take your body weight, multiply it by 20, and you're going to get a caloric intake. Right now, that's going to be a pretty hefty caloric intake, and chances are that that is going to immediately put you in a surplus. On top of that, once you get that intake, I don't want you to break it down into macronutrients, right? So if you get, say for example, 3,000 calories, I don't want you to break that down into protein, fats, and carbs. If you're eating that much, right, 20 times body weight, chances are you're going to get enough protein, you're going to get enough carbs, you're going to get enough fats, and you're going to get enough fiber, vitamins, minerals, etc. All right? In this case, you're probably not going to have to track everything you eat, because when you eat one meal and you're only tracking the amount of calories, break that down to 3, 4, even 5 meals in a day, it's going to be pretty easy to kind of keep a mental note of where you're at in terms of calories, right? So now, instead of trying to hit a certain protein, carb, fat, you're just hitting a certain amount of calories in general. And 9 times out of 10, if you hit that surplus of calories, you are going to ensure that, again, you're getting enough protein, carbs, and fats, right? So that's basically just the kind of life hack for the skinny guy, right? Especially one who just wants to jump in, start putting on size, start getting stronger, and doesn't necessarily want to track every single thing, okay? And then the last thing is meal plans, right? Meal plans have been demonized mainly due to bodybuilding prep coaches, all right? But the truth of the matter is that if you are someone who wants to be told exactly what to eat and when to eat it, and that's what's going to tick for you, and that's what's going to make you take action, then you have to go that route, right? So you can either do the body weight times 20, or you can break down your macros and figure out what your caloric intake is. But those things have to be kept in mind when you are creating your meal plan, right? So what you can do is maybe times your body weight by 20, get a caloric intake, break that down into however many meals you can consume in a day, and then create meals that fit into that caloric intake, and you'll have your meal plan there. Maybe create a few different ones for different days, however you want to do it, but you'll have that structure there, right? You can even go as far as breaking down your macronutrients and creating a few different meal plans based on those, but now you have that structure, right? Now you have you know exactly what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it. You don't have to guess, and you know for sure that you're hitting the amount of calories that you're trying to get that day, right? So those are the 3 ways, right? You can track your macros, figure those out, and be very diligent, but you also get to be flexible with what you're eating. You can times your body weight by 20 and just eat that many calories, and it'll probably ensure that you're gaining weight. And then you can kind of take that strategy, use the other strategy where you're tracking your weight in order to then see when you need to increase those calories, because eventually you will have to, right? The problem with that approach is that for some people you might gain fat a little bit faster than others, but for most hard gainers or skinny guys or whatever you want to call them, it's not an issue. All right. And then lastly, if you're someone who just wants structure and you want to be told, or you want to know exactly what you need to eat and when, then create a meal plan or get a coach to create one for you and show you how to kind of adjust it. Either way, you are achieving the two main things that you need to achieve in order to gain weight and build muscle. You're going to be in a positive energy balance, and you're going to be getting enough protein. So whichever route you choose, those two things are going to happen, and you're going to get good results, period. All right, so pick one of those three, and more importantly than anything else in this video, start taking action now. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button below, subscribe for more videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.